For those of you who don't know, the M Club is our Letter Winners Association here at the University of Maryland. So we represent all former student athletes of all sports from the University of Maryland. And this is what we're all about: bringing people together to celebrate our accomplishments and remember the times we had together and celebrate the impact that that had on our lives. And just judging from all of the people that we have here, I think we have over 300 registrants for this Zoom event, Coach Ross. I can tell that you have had quite an impact on so many Terps. So I'm so excited to hear from our speakers tonight. Just some Zoom etiquette. Again, if you could please leave yourselves on mute. Speakers, you'll be able to unmute yourself when it's time for you to speak. We have about 25 speakers tonight, consisting of former players, coaches, athletic department staff, and they'll each be speaking for about 2 minutes, reminiscing about Coach Ross. At this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Chip Zimmer, who is the chairman of this event. Chip is a 1981 graduate of the University of Maryland and also an honorary member of the M Club. He's a former assistant athletic director and the author of the newest book on Maryland football, The Battle of the Potomac, available on Amazon and at the University of Maryland bookstore. He and his wife, Barbara, are retired and living in Williamsburg, Virginia. Chip? Chip, you'll probably need to unmute yourself.
So you didn't hear any of that yet, huh?
There we go. We've got you.
Okay. I'd like to add my welcome to all of you loyal Terps who fondly remember Bobby Ross's impact on Maryland football. But first, I'd like to recognize two guys who couldn't be with us tonight, but who were instrumental to the football program during Coach Ross's reign. Gib Romaine, Bobby's offensive coordinator, and Jack Jackson, Maryland's coach emeritus and 30-year baseball coach. I'd also like to say thanks to our committee who helped put all this together. Laura Carioco, executive director of the M Club, who put all the technology. Thank heavens, Laura, thank you. Eloise Jones, a 40-year athletic department ticket staffer. Lee Becker, who's been instrumental in finding and identifying many of our speakers. Coach Ralph Friedgen, whose history with Coach Ross is unmatched, and Johnny Holliday, the voice of the Terps, who you'll see a lot of later on. Finally, I'd like to introduce my co-chair, John Dyer, Maryland class of 72 and 3-time football letterman, playing for Bob Ward and Roy Lester. John's guidance, insight, and sense of history has helped to make this event possible. He's semi-retired commercial real estate broker, living with his wife Lane in Williamsburg, Virginia. John, it's yours.
Thank you, Chip. Good evening to everybody. In a minute, I'm going to introduce the Master of Ceremonies, Johnny Holliday, and let this thing take off. But I would be remiss if I didn't say hello to my old teammate, Ralph Friedgen. In 1968, Ralph was a senior guard and I was an inside linebacker. I was a sophomore, and he was probably the toughest lineman I ever faced. And I was so glad when he graduated. Having said that, Johnny Holliday is another star at the top of this ladder. He's spent 60 years in broadcasting. He's raised millions of dollars for charity, and he's called just about every sporting event in the world. He's been the voice of the Maryland Terps for over 40 years, and he's called all the big games. Johnny is in the Washington, D.C. Sports Hall of Fame. Johnny, I could go on, but let's get this show started.
Johnny, you're going to need to unmute yourself.
Try again. Thank you very much. This is going to be a very special night, saluting a very special guy in Coach Bobby Ross. Hard to believe it's been 40 years since he took over the Maryland program back in 1982. He came to College Park, in just a short amount of time, he put Maryland back on the national football spotlight. 3 consecutive ACC championships, 4 consecutive bowl appearances, Aloha, Citrus Sun, and the Cherry Bowl, and 39 wins at Maryland for Coach Ross. Among them, that 42-40 comeback win over Miami in the Orange Bowl when the Terrapins were down 31-0 at halftime. They came back in what then was the greatest comeback for a victory in the history of Division I college football. And that particular team that year in '84 finished up the year ranked number 12 in the country. And tonight we're going to be joined by many of Coach Ross's former assistants and players, administrators, and friends. As we look back at this short video, it all began in 1982, and Coach Ross had a vision.
Fingertips, and Howell was there for the touchdown, a 68-yard play. A 68-yard.
That was 1984 against Miami in the Orange Bowl that come from behind win. Few of our speakers tonight, because of various circumstances, cannot be with us in person, so they have sent in tape messages for Coach Bobby Ross. And leading off tonight, Marv Levy, head coach at William & Mary from 1964 to 1968. When he first met and hired Coach Ross, from 1978 to 1982, he was the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs when Ross served as quarterbacks coach. And in 1982, Bobby Ross left the Chiefs to come to College Park and take over as the head coach of Maryland. Then Levy went on to coach the Buffalo Bills from 1986 to 1997 and to 4 consecutive Super Bowls. He's a member of the Pro Football and the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. And he had this message via tape for Coach Ross.
Hello, everybody. It is my privilege. This is Marv Levy here, former coach of the Buffalo Bills and the College of William & Mary. It is my privilege to join you all at this event celebrating the career of an outstanding coach, outstanding citizen, Bobby Ross. I know you at the University of Maryland are celebrating his career there. It was wonderful. I can remember way back when I was the coach at William & Mary, back in the 1960s, I called the head coach at VMI, John McKenna, to ask him about a man that had been recommended to me. That man was busy, but John McKenna said, I have another one. He's a young guy just coming out of VMI here. His name is Bobby Ross. I interviewed Bobby. I was impressed. Offered him a job. He accepted it and was an assistant there on the staff at William & Mary. That was the beginning of his climb up the coaching ladder. Wow, what a career he had. Yes, at the University of Maryland, at Georgia Tech University, where he was a wonderful coach. And then on into the pro ranks with the San Diego Chargers, with the Detroit Lions. And then late in his career at the United States Military Academy. But he was a great teacher, a great working mate. He was a guy with high principles, a high sense of humor. My hats are off to Bobby Ross. I am so grateful that our careers coincided. Bobby, thank you for it all. And to all of you who are there giving tribute to him, I understand how you feel so strongly about this wonderful man. My best to you all.
Thank you, Coach. Great coach, Marv Levy. Dick Harbison is a celebrated high school coach and college football coach, having coached high school teams in Charlestown, Martinsburg, and Winchester, Virginia. He moved to the collegiate ranks as an assistant in VMI and also William & Mary, and he met Bobby Ross in 1965 when they were both at VMI. The two were reunited in 1969 at William & Mary under Coach Levy and also Coach Lou Holtz. He's a member of the Martinsburg, West Virginia High School Hall of Fame, the Hampshire County, West Virginia Hall of Fame, and the Potomac State College and Shepherd University Halls of Fame. Dick Harbison is now 96 years old. 96 years young. and living in Williamsburg, and he has this recorded message for Coach Ross.
I met Bobby Ross at VMI in 1965 and then at William and Mary. We've stayed in touch with each other over the years. As he got other jobs, he always tried to get me to come with him everywhere he went. But I, along with my wife, was reluctant to move at that particular time. Since retired, he's come down to see me on numerous occasions. He's always been a very special person in my heart, and he has always said to people that he's talked to that I have been very special to him. Congratulations to Bobby being hired at the University of Maryland some 40 years ago. He's been a great coach over the years.
Thank you, Dick. Thank you very, very much for that wonderful, wonderful speech about Coach Ross. Ralph Friedgen served as head football coach at the University of Maryland from 2001 to 2010. Ralph originally came to College Park as an offensive assistant playing for Bob Ward, offensive lineman playing for Bob Ward, and also for Roy Lester. And after serving as a grad assistant for Lester, he joined Bobby Ross in his first football staff at the Citadel. And after serving as an assistant coach at the Citadel and William and Mary, he joined Coach Ross' Maryland staff in 1982 and followed Ross to Georgia Tech and then the San Diego Chargers before coming back to Tech as offensive coordinator. He won the 1999 Frank Broyles Award as the nation's top assistant coach. He became the Terrapins head coach in 2001. He was named the National Coach of the Year his first year at Maryland. He amassed a 75-50 record in his 10-year reign as Maryland's head coach. Ralph is now retired and living down in Palm, South Carolina, and he joins us live right now from Palm, South Carolina to talk about Coach Ross. Coach Friedgen.
How you doing, Johnny?
Good, good.
Well, it's the Isle of Palms in South Carolina, but I'm trying to disguise where I'm at. But Coach, I just wanted to thank you for giving me the opportunity to get into college coaching. I would have probably never got into college coaching if it wasn't for you, because I was a graduate assistant for Roy Lester for 3 years, and Coach Dick Redding told me to see Coach Claiborne to get on, and I went in to see him, and he told me, you know, what can you do for our program? And I told him that I knew the freshman team better than anybody on his staff, and we had a heck of a freshman team. And then he asked me how much I wanted, and I said I can't take any pay because I got a graduate assistantship with the phys ed department, and that was the right price. So I worked with you that spring. We had 5 o'clock meetings, and I showed up. And then in the fall, Coach Claiborne wasn't going to hire me. And you and Coach Redding went in and talked on my behalf, and he did hire me. And then I made a grand total of $150 a month. But I got into coaching, and then when you got the job at the Citadel, you took me with you. And so 43 years later, I was still a college coach. And I was turned down by a lot of high schools and a lot of small colleges, but I got my opportunity because of you, and I thank you for that. You know, thinking back 20 years with coaching with you at 4 different schools, I just thinking of all the big games we were in, and it was amazing to me when I started thinking back over it. And I kind of thought I'd take a few games from each place we've been. When we went to the Citadel, the 2 big games that stand out to me there was the win at Air Force Academy, and in the win over Furman our first year when we were struggling, probably played our best games that we were there and won 24-0. And then when we went to Maryland, there were so many big games. You know, everybody knows about the game in Miami, which was, but you know, all the games with Clemson were big. The game at North Carolina when they were giving up 100 yards total offense, total defense yards rushing. And I think Willie Joyner rushed for 240 yards himself in that game. And then, when we went to Georgia Tech, there's one more game I wanted to bring up because Boomer is supposed to be on this call. And I don't think I ever got this straight with you. We were playing Miami at Bird Stadium, and we had to go for 2 to win the game. And Joe and I were talking about which play to call, and we were running out of time. And Boomer says, "I got it," and he ran in, and you said, "What are we running?" I said, "The hell if I know." And Boomer threw it up on the grass, and he hit the receiver for the 2-point conversion, and we got the win. So that was a pretty memorable game. When we went to Georgia Tech, we had obviously the big win at Virginia when they were ranked number 1, and we came back and won 41-38. And then, of course, the national championship against Nebraska, we won 45-21. And then when we went to the San Diego Chargers, we lost our first 4 games and then won our next 10, I believe, and went to the playoffs the first year, and they hadn't been there in years. And then the Miami game in the playoffs where we couldn't score a touchdown. We kept getting in the red zone. We kept field goals. And then we had a drive late in the game. And I remember you telling me, "You're going too fast." When we were behind, and we we're behind by 5 points, I think. And I kept saying, "We got to score." But we finally made a play with Mark, I forget his name right now, but we hit him in the flat pass on a counter play and scored and went to the big game then the AFC Championship, and we were able to beat Pittsburgh in a very hard fought game, and we hit two bombs to win the game. But it's been great. I've learned so much under you. I learned hard work, attention to detail, discipline, and just to be relentless and never give up. And I owe that to you, and I thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you for joining us tonight. Appreciate it down there in the Isle of Palms,
Right.
South Carolina. Want to make that correction. I only read what they give me,
I know there's been a lot of mistakes so far. So
I knew if I debated, I'd be hearing that from Coach Friedgen. Thank you, Ralph. This Charlottesville native graduated from Virginia Tech in 1968. He was a college coach for 27 years, and his career included stops at William & Mary and VMI and Virginia Tech, and 20 seasons at the University of Maryland beginning in 1972. He's retired now. He's living on a lake in central Virginia. He was an assistant coach at the University of Maryland under Bobby Ross. We welcome on tape Coach George Foussekis. Coach?
Come on, George. Georgie. There you go.
Hey, Bobby. It's hard to believe 40 years have passed. Where in the heck has the time gone? We were blessed to have so many talented players. I have a lot of great memories of those days. You were a no-nonsense coach. You let your assistants do their jobs, and we won a lot of football games. When I think about that period of time, there's one game which I reflect on most often. It's a game against North Carolina in 1986. I think it was 3rd and 10, and they are at midfield with about 35 seconds left in the game. The scoreboard said they had no timeouts left, and we double-checked with the official on the sidelines. We knew this was important. He told us no timeouts left. I called a blitz, wish I hadn't, thinking pass. They ran a sweep, which put them in field goal range. I remember saying to you, Bobby, this game is over because they couldn't stop the clock. However, the referee stopped the clock with 1 second left. He said they had one remaining timeout. Unbelievable. They made the kick, game over. It was a devastating, tough loss. I will never forget how Bobby took off and chased down the officials. Don't blame you. I never realized you had that kind of speed. I was really dreading at coaches' meeting Sunday morning because I thought personally I had cost us that game. The first thing Bobby said was there was nothing wrong with the call. He had every right to be upset and critical, but he wasn't. That told me all I needed to know about Bobby Ross, the man. I will never forget that. Never. Bobby, sorry I am having to do this remotely, but we are out of town on vacation. You were a great coach and a better person. It was truly an honor to be part of your staff. We had a good run, Bobby. Partner, take care, my friend.
Thank you, Coach. Coach George Foussekis from his lake house down there in Virginia. Jimmy Cavanaugh first met Bobby Ross in the spring of 1967 when Ross coached him for 3 years down at William and Mary. And then Coach Ross hired him in 1982 to come to Maryland. And after leaving Maryland in 1986, Cav continued to face Ross. He was at North Carolina, and Ross was then at Georgia Tech. Jimmy Cavanaugh spent the next 41 years coaching at Virginia Tech. He's now retired, lives down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he joins us now from Charlotte. Coach, good evening.
Hey, Johnny. This is pretty cool. I can't believe, seeing Fo and Ralph being in the different staff meetings. I just saw Bobby about 10 days ago at William Mary. And for a homecoming, we had a bunch of guys. Mike Carroll from the Richmond area, who was a GA for Coach down at Citadel after getting out of the Army. He helps, and he loves driving with Coach around to different functions. We also, Coach Ross comes down. We all meet in Williamsburg for about twice a year to see Harmy, the guy that Dick Harmison, who you just had on. He coached some of us, Laycock and I, at William Mary with Coach Ross. So it's fun to see everybody. And of course, I sat right next to Ralph in all those staff meetings. But Coach Ross is there aren't many people I've worked for, and I've worked for a bunch of coaches. Bobby is the most straight arrow guy. There's not much in between with Bobby. He did everything, attempted to do everything the right way. I first met him when he came in as an assistant coach at William Mary. He coached on offense for 2 years, and then when Holtz came in, Holtz had Bobby coach defensive backs. But those 2 years with Coach on offense, he had the quarterbacks and such. I was a receiver. And so he was he was a good man. I mean, he knew the game, and but he treated everybody the same, fairly. And our guys, over the years, the William Mary guys, and then of course some of the Maryland guys, always have the same opinion about it. Many times with coaches, everybody has different opinions, different thoughts, whatever. But everybody thought so highly of Coach, not just as the coaching part, but as a person. And Bobby is just a good person, good guy. And he recommended me. I got Mac Brown fired my old ass down there at North Carolina, and Bobby gave me a heck of a recommendation to Coach Beamer, and I ended up coaching on the other side of the ball. I ended up coaching defense for 17 years for Coach Beamer, and the recommendation that Bobby gave me to Coach, I am forever indebted to him for that, And so Bobby's one of the kind of guys, whatever he would have got into, so be it, it was coaching, he'd have been successful. He's just a good man and a straight shooter. And there's a lot of stories. I won't get into, I know Ralph started telling some stories, and then Fo that time when Coach Chase Safford, the referee across the field, I didn't even know what happened. I was coming down from the press box and I didn't know what all the fuss was about till later that night when I'm watching the TV and my wife told me about it. But that's the kind of guy Bobby is. He had been wronged. It was a bad situation, and Bobby spoke his mind. So they come no finer than Coach Ross. I have a lot of stories that he's so straight. There's a lot of funny situations that have been created with Bobby, but this is, I know you have time limits. So I just wanted to say thank you, Coach, to repeat some of what Fo and Ralph have said. And it's always a pleasure. And you're a man's man, and you're a credit to the state of Virginia for the many things you've done. Thank you, Johnny.
Okay, Jim. Thank you very much. Coach Jim Kavanaugh spent a lot of time with Coach Ross here in College Park. And Bobby, feel free to jump in anytime you want. If you hear some comments from these guys, you want to talk back to them, feel free. The microphone's open down there, and you got it. And just let her rip anytime you feel like it. Coach Greg Williams. Yeah,
I could just jump in real quickly before we get beyond the three that just talked. Ralph Friedgen was one of the greatest football coaches you ever want to know. He is one of the few guys I ever knew as a coach that could coach every position. And he could have taken a position. I could have been on the field and said, Ralph, why don't you go over and work with the running backs for a while? He could have stepped over there and done that job. He was an outstanding football coach. I go back and look at some of the film that we have now. I have it, and I really enjoy it. I look at the film and I watch it. And at a time in which he was coaching our offensive line, I've never seen a group of linemen that played so well as our linemen did there. And I felt in those days, at that time, I mean, there was a time when we might have been the best football team in the country. I really felt that way with Maryland. Jimmy Kavanaugh, detail. Outstanding football coach. When we got to Maryland, Coach Claiborne, a Hall of Fame coach, great man, but they didn't throw the ball a whole lot. And there wasn't a whole lot of receiver type players in the program. There were some, but not quite enough for what we probably wanted to get accomplished in our program. Jimmy Kavanaugh made those guys into great receivers. And we had great receivers. The Cizzadine, James Milling, Joins, it was a bunch of them. And it was because of the work that Jimmy put in developing them. And then I think the third thing was Foussekis, George. George was a great football coach, and he was a great recruiter. George only recruited tough players, so. And they were always a tough football player with George. The funny thing with George, and I'll finish up with that on this one, is I got a film out one time of George as a high school player. And I asked him to evaluate this player. I was trying to recruit him, and what did he think of him? Well, George was an All-American, at Virginia Tech. And going to Virginia Tech, he failed to recommend himself to me as a player. He did not know that I was using him as the person to be evaluated. But George was a solid football coach, solid man, and one of the big reasons for why we won and were successful is that what we were was because we had people like that, and they were just I can never say enough about them all. They were just that special. Oh, thank you, Johnny.
Sure, Coach. Anytime. Just feel free. It's your hour and a half, so feel free to jump in anytime. We're waiting. Is Greg Williams with us right now? We're having trouble getting a hold of Greg down there in Ocean Isle Beach, North Carolina. Greg Williams joined the Terrapin staff in 1982. He was in similar positions with NC State and West Virginia as the offensive coordinator at TCU. And then Greg spent 10 years at Maryland, 82 to 91, coaching the defensive secondary and serving as defensive coordinator for the last 5 years with the Terrapins program. As we mentioned, he's now retired and living down in Ocean Isle Beach, North Carolina. I think we may have Coach Greg Williams with us tonight. Greg, if you're there, fire away. And if you're not, we can come back to Coach Williams in just a few minutes. Let's go to Don Nehlen's tribute to Coach Ross, and we'll try to get a hold of Coach Williams in a moment. Don Nehlen became the West Virginia head coach in 1980. When Ross joined Maryland 2 years later, one of the best rivalries for both schools basically exploded. And Chip Zimmer's book would tell you all about the West Virginia-Maryland football rivalry. West Virginia won the first 2 games, but Ross had Boomer Esiason and swept the next 3. This became the longest consecutive rivalry game for each team, spanning a total of 27 years. And hopefully one of these days, maybe we'll get back that Maryland-West Virginia rivalry once again. He retired from WVU after the 2000 season as the winningest coach in West Virginia history. He's a member of the College Football Hall of Fame. And via tape, here's Coach Don Nehlen.
Bobby, Don Nehlen here in West Virginia. Hey, Bobby, congratulations on your 40th year tribute. You know, I'm a little older than you, so naturally I never had a chance to play for you. And be honest, I never had the opportunity to coach alongside of you. You know, my experience with you is I was always over on the other sideline. And to be honest, Bobby, you probably gave me some headaches on Friday nights before we played the Maryland Terrapins. But, you know, before I ever got a scouting report on Maryland, I always knew something about Bobby Ross and the Maryland football team. I knew when we played Maryland and Bobby Ross, offensively, they were never going to beat themselves. I knew that offensive line would be fundamentally sound. I knew they were going to come off the ball and strike us. I knew their running backs were going to come downhill. And I knew formation-wise, they were going to give our defense problems. I knew defensively, it was going to be the same old story. Their kids are going to know where to line up, and they were going to be a very physical football team. Bobby Ross's football teams were never going to beat themselves. You know, I coached for Bo Schembechler for 3 years, and he taught me one thing. He said, you know, Don, you don't have to win football games. You just hang around long enough, and those other guys will give it to you. Well, Bobby Ross's football teams never gave it to you. You had to beat his football teams. And every time we played Maryland, before I ever got the scouting report, I knew one thing. We had to beat them because Bobby's teams never beat themselves. And in the recruiting area in Washington, D.C., Bobby, I got to pay you a great compliment. I never heard anything except positives about Bobby Ross and his clean way of recruiting. I'd like to pay the biggest compliment that I could ever pay a guy. Bobby Ross, in my opinion, is a Hall of Fame coach all the way. Bobby, you're the best, and I can say nothing but great things about you. God bless you. God bless your family. You're as good as they come. You're the best.
Thank you, Coach Nehlen, a Hall of Fame coach himself. And he's right, Bobby Ross should be a Hall of Fame coach. It is. Has Greg Williams been able to check in yet? Just nod your head, Laura, yes or no? And not yet. Let's go to Dick Dahl. And Dick Dahl is the guy that brought Bobby Ross to College Park. He joined the athletic department as an assistant ticket manager, then moved up the ranks and succeeded Jim Kehoe as director of athletics back in 1981. He led a one-man search committee and hired Bobby Ross away from the Kansas City Chiefs to become the successor to Jerry Claiborne. He stepped down in 1986. He's now retired. He lives down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and he has this pre-recorded message for Coach Ross.
Good morning, Bobby. This will be an opportunity for you to visit with many of your friends who you haven't seen for a while. And most people don't realize that we hired you in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because we had to go out there and visit with the chancellor who was doing research. But that evening after dinner, you excused yourself and you went up to your room because you needed to begin to hire a staff. That kind of a work ethic is what characterized your success everywhere you've been. And it followed through at Georgia Tech and at the Chargers and everywhere you were. Best wishes to your family, to your 2 daughters, and to your son, and especially to your wife.
Thank you, Dick. And Dick's the guy that hired Coach Ross back in
I was going to say to him, Johnny, thank you, Dick, for what you did. You gave me the opportunity to coach at what I considered throughout, and even to this day, one of the great college football programs in the country. A great location, and it was a thrill for me to have the opportunity. And you and Jack Scarbath were the 2 that had the most to do with me getting that opportunity. I'd also like to say very quickly about Coach Nehlen, because West Virginia, everything that he said about me goes to him, because he was that type of football coach. And I knew him through, and I learned a little bit more about him through the Michigan people. When I went with the Detroit Lions, I hired Gary Moeller, and we got one day discussing Don Nehlen. And the same things that Don had said about me applied to Don Nehlen, a great, great human being and an outstanding football coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Johnny.
Frank Costello is next up at our speaker program tonight. He's one of the most decorated athletes in Maryland history. He was a 4-time All-American with 2 NCAA high jump titles to his credit. He set conference and NCAA records as well. He became Maryland's track coach, winning numerous ACC titles before he became the Terrapins' first strength and conditioning coach, working alongside Coach Ross's teams. And Frank is now semi-retired, not totally retired, just semi-retired. With his wife, Sherry, and they live in Silver Spring. And Coach Frank Costello, how you doing, Coach?
Johnny, I'm not sure if Frank is on, but Frank, if you are, if you could say something so we can find you.
Okay, we're waiting for Frank to join us.
Hello?
There you
Hello?
go.
Can you got it, Johnny?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I just say also I'm living in Annapolis, not Silver Spring. But I just wanted to shortly say, I'm not blaming you now. Bobby, I guess the last time you and I talked was several years ago over at the Naval Academy. And and that was a lot of fun talking to you on that day, and it's good to see you again. I'm not going to say too much, but I wanted to just repeat something Coach Kehoe told me when I took the job as track coach in Maryland. And he said that a coach has to be a good teacher, a good motivator, and most of all, a real good leader. And you were absolutely all of those things, Bobby. And I think the reason we did so well in football when I was a strength coach there, and because all the staff, along with all the players, completely believed in what you were doing and what you were trying to achieve. And it was just an absolute pleasure working with you, and it was an honor working with you. And I can speak for all the great strength coaches that helped me out at Maryland. So once again, best of everything in the future, Bobby.
I really enjoyed Frank. He introduced a new thing in training that I thought was significant, and that was the downhill running, where we either tried to increase the length of the stride or the speed of the stride. And Frank introduced that to me. And from that, I think it was, he developed some really fine players for us. We mentioned Sis and James Millen and the people that we had, Farrell Edmonds, etc. He took players who, you don't change them in a great sense, but he did increase their speed. And he had a great demeanor with them in the weight room. Just a really wonderful demeanor. And they did what he wanted them to do. You know, you've already.
I love you, Frank.
Okay, I don't know who that was, Frank, but I'll move on. Hi, Johnny.
I'm going to guess maybe Dave Pacella.
Take over. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Well, Frank, who's just moved from Silver Spring to Annapolis. Thank you, Frank. Great to see you. Haven't seen you in a long time. Looking mighty good, Frank Costello. Back in 1984, the Terps were playing the Hurricanes of Miami, ranked number 6 in the country at that time, down to the Orange Bowl in Miami. We were down 31-0 at halftime. So Coach Ross made a quarterback change, and then came Frank Reich and engineered the greatest comeback at that time in the history of Division I college football, and Maryland won that game 42-40. Then 9 years later in the NFL, Frank Reich led the Buffalo Bills to the greatest comeback in NFL history over the Houston Oilers. He played 14 years, including a couple of years stint with Bobby Ross's Lions. Then Frank went to the seminary and then pastored a local church for 8 years before returning to the football program as a coach in the NFL. In 2018, he became the head coach, where he is today, of the Indianapolis Colts, and they'll be in Tennessee against the Titans this coming Sunday. And Coach Reich joins us right now to talk about Coach Ross. Coach Reich, good to see you again.
Good to see you, Johnny. And Coach Ross, great to be on this call with everyone here, joining to celebrate you and the impact that you've had on all of us. Just getting to listen here for a few minutes, just want to echo what everybody else is saying. I don't know, when I think back and as this has been planned, and I've thought back about this for the last couple months and thinking about you and the impact that you've had on me and my career, like everyone else on this call, I think it all started with family. Your unwavering love and conviction for your family, that was felt by all of us. And I just think I felt that family extended to us as your players, and as I'm sure with the other coaches. The other thing that has been mentioned already is that I think gave us all the sense of confidence that we were going to win a lot of games was your work ethic. We knew it was second to none. We know there was no coach in the league that was working harder than you. I mean, the hours that you put in, and your absolute steadfastness upon your conviction about the process and how you had things set up. We knew things were set up the right way for us to succeed as people, for us to succeed as a team. You created a culture and an environment that just oozed success and oozed family. So I just wanted to get on for a minute to say thank you. Of course, I've enjoyed keeping in touch a little bit over the years and keeping in touch with a couple members of your family, but have the utmost respect for you and the impact you've had. And, as a person who's followed in your footsteps to get into the coaching career, I've thought many times about all the lessons that you've taught all of us here on this call. So thank you. Love you, appreciate you, have the utmost respect for everything you've done for all of our lives.
And I hold the same feelings toward you, Frank. And we want to wish you the best of luck in the coming years. You've done a tremendous job there at Indianapolis, and you've come out and done a wonderful job with the development of the program and been very, very successful. And we will still never forget, okay, the time that you took us from 31-0 down. Been asked often, many times, what got to it? Well, you had your shoulder problem, and we finally got you to able to come back to play. And I followed a rule that I had learned in the Army. I served 3 years in Germany, not all in Germany, but one of the rules was do something even if it's wrong. And as I was walking off the field, I said, we got to put Frank in. It's his time now to come back from the injury. And I know you had some difficulty with not coming before that, and I understand that, I do. But I think that what you did there, and then what you did for Marv at Buffalo, nobody will ever accomplish that. And on top of it all, Frank, you're a pretty darn good person too. God bless and good luck in the remaining parts of this season.
Well, thanks, Coach. I think the rest of us that were on that team, we could all attest if we recall that you told us at halftime that we were going to run 100. We were going to go back to Bird Stadium, turn on the lights, and run 100-yard sprint for every point that we lost by. And we were down 31-0. That was a lot.
I agree.
That was a lot. That would have been a lot of hundreds. So I think we all just decided we better get it together.
Well, there was a little bit more to that as well. At the end of the game, you know how it is when you come back from something like that. And we had left Tony Edwards in the locker room, locked into the locker, couldn't get out to play the second half. And nobody knew about it. We just forgot, and got all excited as the game started to change a little bit. But at the end of the game, Kevin Glover got me in a headlock. And I mean, he was putting some pressure on my head, And he said, Coach. I said, yeah, wait, what do you want? What do you want? He said, we're going to still have to run those 40s. I said, no, absolutely not. But it was a thrill that I don't think any of us will ever forget, or anybody affiliated to Maryland will ever forget that particular ball game. Very, very special. And there are two of the ones that had an awful lot to do with it.
Thank you, Coach. And Frank Reich, thank you for taking time to be with us tonight as you prepare for that trip to Tennessee. Thank you so much. We'll hear from Kevin Glover coming up in just a couple of minutes. But first, Dave Pacella is joining us now. He came to College Park in 1978. A four-year letterman, co-captained the 82 Aloha Bowl team, All-ACC offensive tackle in 82, honorable mention All-American in 1982, and won the Jacobs Blocking Trophy awarded to the best blocker in the ACC in also 1982. He went on to play 4 years of professional football, and today David lives down in Ponte Vedra, Florida with his wife Lisa. They have 6 children. They have 9 grandchildren. Let's welcome to our Zoom tonight with Coach Ross, Dave Pacella. Dave, you got it.
Hey, what a wonderful night. This has been amazing. I'm getting goosebumps. I'm looking to get into a football game here in a minute. Maybe I'll knock my wife over. I don't know. But anyway, I'm just so excited to be here. It's great to see you, Coach Ross. It's great to see everyone, all of my former coaches. And, I am just, again, so thankful and grateful to be here. And it is hard to believe it's been 40 years that I was a senior in that 1982 Aloha Bowl team. And, what I think about with Coach Ross, first off, and Frank mentioned it, about family, but really I'll throw faith in there as well. A man of faith and family and service, and a man of integrity and an honesty, great character. And in the end, character always wins. And Coach Ross is a great leader along with the other coaches that are on here as well, which I have tremendous respect for each and every one of them. And they say it's not what happens when a leader is present, but what happens when a leader is not there. And that's the sign of a good leader. And I'm going to tell you, I had a very short time with this staff as a player. It was just my senior year. But these guys had a tremendous impact on me. And it is carried through. There's the lessons. There's not a day that goes by that I don't implement the lessons that have been put into place by Coach Ross and the staff that was there. I still cast a vision for my sales team. I set the values, and we have a battle plan, Coach Ross, that we go to war with every week. And I sit down with my staff and do the same thing. And I encourage them daily, all the time, just like you did it for us. And, you know, I never grew up with my father, never did. He never saw me play a down football. And football to me was like these men that were coaching me, they were like my surrogate fathers. And I wanted to please them. And I got to tell you, I don't think I was that good. I think that I just rose to a level because I wanted to, you know, please these guys like they were my dad. And they cared for me, like Frank said, you know, like family. And I felt that. And to this day, I still feel that connection. But they were a blessing to me. Coach Ross, you've been a blessing to me so that I could be a blessing to other people. And that's what I'm doing now. That's what I'm trying to just pass it on through. And I just thank you for everything you've done. And, you know, the two greatest days of my life are the day I was born and the day I realized why I was born. Another great day was behind me right here. This is the 1982 game. Coach Friedgen and his lovely wife, Gloria, gave me this picture back when I graduated from the University of Maryland. And in this picture, it's Mike Corvino and myself carrying Coach Ross off the field, that great win. That game was mentioned by Coach Ross, and Coach Friedgen, about how they were a tough rushing defense, and we ran the ball down their throat. And actually, I think Frank jumped off the call. But if the guys on the team, if you remember that 82 halftime, we didn't sit down. I never took my helmet off, and I gave a pretty emotional speech. And I remember seeing Dave Dadio, and I remember seeing Frank Reich. Poor Frank, he was just, I think, the third or fourth team quarterback, just sitting in his locker. And I looked right at him. I think that Frank thought I was going to kill him. You know, but we were just all fired up. And I said, Coach Ross, run the ball. And we did. We ran it down their throat the second half. And it was a great victory. But a great memory. I have it there. But this is more than just a memory of that game. I think about Mike Corvino. And he represents all the guys that we don't have here anymore. And it was a tragedy to lose him and a great friend. And I still mourn him. And then I look at Coach Ross and I think about him and his character and everything that he's instilled in us. I look at myself and I see a guy that is pretty joyful in that picture. But we know that life can be tough. And we spend most of the time not on the mountaintops, but in the valleys. We know that adversity comes to us all. And it's not about what happens to us, but it's how we walk through it. And what was instilled with us at the University of Maryland as players, from Coach Ross, Coach Friedgen, Coach Kavanaugh, to Coach Williams, Coach Fogg. What was instilled to us, we still use today to pull myself out of the valley, and everybody else that I'm sure can attest that as well. But Coach Ross, congratulations. You deserve all these accolades. You're a great man. I love you. I love you guys all. And listen, if you're ever in Ponte Vedra, Florida, I got homemade pasta in the refrigerator, sauce and meatballs. Come on down. A little Locatelli cheese will grate it for you. You're welcome anytime.
David did not say, Johnny, but David turned coach in that locker room that afternoon, because I asked, what do y'all want to do? You know, we were behind and we were struggling, and you did take off your helmet because you banged that headgear into the locker, one of those metal lockers, and you said, run the damn ball. Run the damn ball. I said, okay, we're going to run the damn ball. And Willie Joyner made us true prophets and the line and what they did in it, because that was actually one of the turning points to the game.
Well, that was a
Good to
landmark.
see you, Dave, and thank you for your kind words.
Oh, thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Dave, very, very much. All of us know the love we have for Dottie Warren. Dottie couldn't be with us tonight. She's been battling some health problems. We're all thinking about you, Dottie. We're all praying for you for a complete recovery. And she did send along this note that I want to read to Coach Ross from Dottie Warren. She worked in the football office with the M Club for a total of 19 years. She writes, the first year we had Coach as our head coach was full of changes. I was in the football office as a secretary to the assistant coaches. Coach Ross was a wonderful head coach and a wonderful person. The players were all inspired and wanted to be able to play their best for him. We were fortunate to be invited to the Aloha Bowl, his first season at Maryland. All the players, all the coaches, all the staff got to attend the game. It was one of the highlights of my career at Maryland. Coach Ross was as great on the field as he was off the field. It was an honor to work with him. And Coach, that's from our dear friend, we all love her, and that's from Dottie Warren.
And we certainly hope, Dottie, that you're doing better.
Yeah.
We miss you a lot, okay? And you were very, very special. And the players knew that, and they would talk to you about things that they would not talk to coaches about, but they wanted to hear your input into it. But I appreciate all that you did for us, because it was an awful lot, and we will pray for your recovery.
Thank you, Coach. We love you, Donnie. Kevin Glover is one of those guys that stayed home to play at the University of Maryland. He played for a pair of ACC championship teams. He was a first-team All-American in 1984 under Coach Ross. And after being drafted in the second round, he went on to a 15-year career in the National Football League. 13 with the Lions, spending his 97 season reunited with Coach Ross in Detroit. He started at center for every game for 9 years with the Lions. He rejoined the Maryland football staff in 2017 as director of player development, and that's where he is right now. And we're happy as heck he's still with us at the University of Maryland. Kevin Glover.
Thank you, Johnny. Good evening, Coach Ross. It's a pleasure to see you on here and so many other Terp family members and brothers. You can't imagine the numerous conversations we've had over the decades about you, how much we trusted you, how much you trusted us, the love we all have for you. And oftentimes we think back and share memories and say, Coach Ross must have had a crystal ball. You would tell us things that we never thought would happen in the game. Like Doug Cox would block a punt. It happened. When they line up the onside kick against Miami, you told Joe to scoop it up and just run. You told him that during the week. And I recall us saying, Coach Ross is crazy. What makes him think that we're going to be ahead at the end of the game? So we learned to trust everything that you said. So when it came to us being down 31-0 and you told us we can come back and win, we truly believe that. And that's why we became such a great and trusting team. But even more than that, you taught us how to be men of character. You taught us how to always be honest, which is something my dad always told me. He always told me, be honest, there is no gray. There's no in between. You're either honest or you aren't. And not only did you teach us that, you live that. And we all have a great deal of respect and love for you. We miss you. It's always great when I get a chance to talk to you on the phone, because not only were you a great coach, you were an amazing mentor to all of us. You were a great example of what a man and a father and a grandfather should be. And so it's extremely pleasing to me to call you coach, mentor, and now friend. And we wish you well, man. We love you so much, and we appreciate you being on here tonight.
Thank you for your kind words, Kevin. You were special, and I think you see that when you speak right now. But you were one of the real special leaders in the program. And if people had a question or a player, I know they would come to you, and they did come to you. And you advised, and you kept the ball club together, along with our other co-captains. And we were very, very fortunate to have all that we did. And I think you and Eric Wilson were the captains that one particular year.
Yes.
You have to have leadership within your program. If you don't have it within the program, anything that I would do is not going to have any input on what y'all have to do. And and you provided that. And God bless you. Stay healthy. And if you're going through Richmond, stop by. Okay.
I sure will.
Okay.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. Doug Cost just flashed up here a message. KG bulldozing the way on the offensive line. Something none of us will ever forget. Chuck Faucette played linebacker for the San Diego Chargers, and he was the former St. Louis Rams strength and conditioning coach. He played 2 seasons for the San Diego Chargers, appearing in 10 games. He attended the University of Maryland from 1983 to 1986, and he left as the Terrapins' second leading tackler all time with 466, behind only Eric Wilson's 481. And he's currently the head football coach down in Florida at Cape Coral, Florida, at Ida Baker High School. Let's welcome into our Zoom tonight, Chuck Faucette. Chuck.
Hey, Johnny, how you doing? It's been a long time. Oh, it's great to see some of these guys and, going through it's just bringing memories back. Coach Ross, congratulations on 40 years. Couple things that come to mind with me. Everybody still tells stories about how the crazy, wild, undisciplined, feathered earring kid, and that's what I came in as, snot-nosed kid. But when I left there, I became a man, and that was because of you and the rest of that staff. I was just so blessed to be able to play those 4 years. We won a lot of games. We had, 3 ACC championships in a row, played in a lot of bowl games and won a lot of football games. I'm not going to talk about, there's lots of games, the Miami game, I can think all the Clemson games, all the big games we have with Penn State. But the things that I remember that are close to me that drive me now as a 59-year-old, man, is the reason I thought that we won a lot of football games in 4 years, and I'll never forget this, is that we were such a diverse football team at that time in the early 80s. And you always preached. I mean, we had, Rick Badanjek and me, we were both biracial, black kids, we had white guys, but we all loved each other. I mean, we were all together. We sat together at the tables. I remember, because a lot of teams back then in the South that were still, even though it wasn't the 60s, that they were segregated, and, you'd have one section and the other section, but we were always together all the time in the dorms, in the weight room, and at lunch, went out to dinner together. And those are the things that I remember, that you built that culture, the diverse culture, and the only color that we saw on that football team was red, white, yellow, and black. And that's what I remember the most. And then, like I said, I was a wild child, and I know that that's why Coach Ross is, even though he's getting up there, I gave him his gray hair early, because I probably drove him crazy those 4 years. But as I got older, I remember, I was getting ready to get married, and Coach brought me in the office and sat me down, and we talked for about an hour and gave me advice and things like that. And then when I got drafted to play football, Coach Ross, he was the guy. I didn't have anybody to talk to. I had no way. He's the one that I, recommended my agent, which was his agent, and called his agent for me and gave me life advice. And, the first time when I had my first child, the first person that I heard from, I was in New York. I was in the Giants during camp, and I got a letter from Coach Ross to congratulate me, about having my child. So those are the things that I remember that shaped my life. Again, we had some great times, and we had a hell of a run for 4 years, big, huge games. We could talk about that all day, but those are the things that I remember Coach Ross. And, if it wasn't for you and, Coach Foussekis and Coach Williams and Kavanaugh and the rest of that group, they shaped me and made me from a wild, undisciplined kid to a grown man. And now that I've been coaching, I've coached at every level and with the St. Louis Rams and at University of Texas, and now high school, finishing out my career. Now, Coach, I know why that I used to drive you crazy, because I see some of these kids now, but I do what you do, and you were patient with me, and you talked to me when I know you wanted to beat me upside the head and kick me out. But I thank you for everything you did for me, and that's the reason why I've been in coaching the last 25 years. So congratulations, Coach. I love you. I love everybody else I got to see. I saw you, Big Head Badanjek, in there. I love you too, buddy.
Chuck, I still remember you coming to see me when I took
You need
the
to
job
stop
in
that.
San Diego. And you came in and you said, Coach, I can't believe it. He said, but do you know what? I am running Dawn Patrol. I have Dawn Patrol in my program.
Yeah, that's right.
And he was a prominent member of Dawn Patrol, Chuck.
Absolutely.
Okay. But he's had a great job. And he turned with one hit, Johnny. He turned a game around. And it was down at NC State. And it was on a Saturday night. And we couldn't do a thing. I mean, and they're just running the ball at us. And for whatever reason, it was like we were playing on ice. And they sent the runner in, and the guy jumped to jump across the goal line for a score. Well, Chuck met him before he got over, and it was a hit. And it was one of those hits where the crowd, they didn't cheer. It was like, ooh, like, you know, I heard that hit. And that turned the game around for us. That one play turned that game around, and we became a different team after that. And Chuck was a great contributor to our program. I've always wanted to ask you though, Chuck, could you hit the curveball?
I couldn't hit that. That's why I came to see you, Coach, because I couldn't hit that damn thing.
Well, I couldn't have taught you how to do that now. God bless you. Okay.
You too, Coach. I love you.
Think the world of you, man.
That's great. The second all-time leading tackler at the University of Maryland, right there. Chuck Faucette. Thank you, Chuck, very, very much. My good buddy Doug Dahl joins us next. He's covered some of Coach Ross's teams when he first began as a sports writer for the Hagerstown Herald Mall. And that was an interesting run for Doug Dahl at that particular newspaper. A 30-year career in college sports information, including, and I had a chance to work with Doug for 10 wonderful years at the University of Maryland. He has won numerous writing awards. He's the past president of the College Sports Information Directors of America. He was inducted into its Hall of Fame in 2007. He and his wife are now retired and living in Rockville in Maryland, here in the state of Maryland. We once in a while get a chance to see him at O'Donnell's up there in Rockville, having a little bit of that O'Donnell's good food. And what a sports information director he was. Here's Doug Dahl, my friend. Hey, Doug.
Johnny, thank you. That's awfully kind. It's wonderful to see, like everybody else, it's wonderful to see some friendly faces with whom I covered the Terps and worked with the Terps in my 10 years at Maryland. Chip asked me tonight to speak to Coach Ross's Terps teams from that media perspective. As a former sports writer and as an old SID, you can always tell when the tone of a locker room will be positive or someplace to avoid and be nervous a bit. Under Coach Ross, though, players and coaches were friendly, accommodating, honest, and actually appreciative of our presence. It's always been the case that the coach sets the tone for those interactions with the media. For me, on a personal note, I remember being part of an informal group of reporters following one of our weekly Tuesday news conferences. Coach noticed at the time that I was wearing a back brace. He asked me about it with a look of concern. And honestly, 40 years later, that concern and that kindness has always stuck with me. Coach showed a young reporter from a small newspaper that it's always good to be kind. Coach Ross, thank you. Congratulations. Enjoy your special evening. And thanks for your kindness extending to those of us on the staff and in the media.
Thank you very much, Doug. I appreciate your kind words. And all of the media, we had some great people that covered us during those periods of time. Mike Wilbon, Sally Jenkins, were several of them. And it was just a great experience for me. I learned from them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Coach. See you next time at O'Donnell's, Doug, if you buy.
Absolutely. My Visa card just jumped. Yes.
You heard from Chuck Faucette moments ago. Now we're going to hear from a guy who's in the Maryland record books, one of the all-time greats to play at the University of Maryland. Co-captain of that 1984 team, he holds the Terps record for career tackles with 481, helping him to earn first-team All-American. He was drafted by the Green Bay Packers, played 3 years in the NFL, and he got a Super Bowl ring with the Redskins as well. Eric's been a special education teacher in Hilton, a hotel hospitality representative, and owner of eWill Productions for over 30 years.
Will.
Yeah, as if he wasn't busy enough, he also coaches high school football and basketball. And he also, from time to time, with J.D. Maarleveld, will come on halftime of a radio broadcast like he did a couple of weeks ago. He and his wife, Belinda, have 4 kids and 8 grandchildren. They live down in Charlottesville, Virginia. I'm speaking about linebacker Eric Wilson. Eric?
Johnny, how you doing?
Good.
Want to say, hello to all my great former teammates and coaches, and thank you for emceeing and being the voice of Maryland as you've done all these years. And what a great occasion tonight to be here 40 years later, to be able to celebrate our beloved coach, Coach Ross. Stepping foot on Maryland, the Maryland campus 40 years ago, and for him, taking on the job and coming in and reestablishing things to the point that we, accomplished a lot of things football-wise, university-wise, and as young men. Coach, I just want to tell you, it is just an absolute pleasure and honor to be on the panel tonight with, all of the great folks of Maryland, and to be, celebrating, your career and your accomplishments. I've heard a lot of great things from a lot of my teammates, and, I'll just piggyback shortly on some of those things. Coach, the waters were muddy when you got here, and it was a time, a lot of anxiety with young men running around when change was happening. Change is difficult anytime it happens, regardless of what that might be in life. And of course, for us 40 years ago, it was a change, a coaching change, on the college level. And we, a lot of us didn't know whether we were coming or going. And, and that's what happens when those things happen. Folks talk about leaving, folks will talk about going this place. But you came in during that time of anxiety and articulated your plan and your vision. And part of that was also your family touch and your trust in us. And as you did on many occasions, you inspired us, and we believed in you because the things that you said and the things that you told us, and the thing, and the hope and trust you had in us, we felt that to the core, and it came out many times, many ways throughout the games in the years at Maryland. And, I can speak on a couple occasions, of course, the miracle in Miami, the Sun Bowl championship with Tennessee, and of course, the championship game on my home grounds at UVA, beating the Cavaliers down there. Those were just in my senior year, but there were many great wins and great things that happened under your tenure. And, we have you to thank for that, for you, instilling the confidence in us, and, and the trust. And as Chuck had mentioned, we had a diverse team of folks that were from many backgrounds. I can remember after games in Ellicott Hall, down the hallway, all walks of life, all types of folks, different types of food, this and that, folks just breaking bread with each other. but we loved each other and we cared for each other. And those times that we had, those crucial times, that love and trust and care came out, and it came out, in terms of hanging together and winning games and having a lot of positive things happen. I want to thank you personally for that. I will personally be indebted to you, along with the other players and folks in our area, for your accomplishments. And I'll hold on to those things. And we wish you continued success and wellness. Thank you for all that you did, and we do love you. We will continue to love you and your family, and keep doing your thing. But much love to all Terp Nation, and thanks for having me on tonight.
God bless, Eric, and thank you for coming on today. You win with players, okay? And you were one of the best. And we had a lot of good ones, okay? But your career marks success. And not only at Maryland, but actually in the pro ranks as well. But beyond that, you were a great leader in our program. You really were. And the players listened to you, and they respected you, and they trusted you. And you and Kevin, as co-leaders that particular year, meant an awful, awful lot to any success we had. And thank you for that. God bless.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Eric, very, very much for being with us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Angie Perry was a 4-year student manager for the football team and for Coach Ross. You can see her next to Coach Ross during games, managing the headset wire that Coach had wrapped around his head. When Coach Ross hired her, she became the first female student manager for a football team in Division I NCAA history. And Bobby Ross made that happen. She's currently the president of the M Club in Maryland, a Terrapin Club board member, and a member of the Athletic Council. She lives down in Kent Island, Maryland, is the director of communications for the transportation engineering firm of Hardesty and Hanover, and she joins us now from Kent Island, Angela Perry. Hi, Angela.
Hi, thank you, Johnny. A warm hello to all my teammates on the call and those watching on Zoom. I love you all and hope to see you all in person very soon. It's well documented that coaches often change the lives of players, but they can change the lives of student managers too. Coach Ross, your decision to accept me as a student manager of this team, making me the first female student manager, changed my life and the lives of many other women who have become college football professionals, some right here at Maryland. You, Mrs. Ross, your daughters, and many of my teammates were unknowingly helping to grow the game long before it became the norm. You were the leader, so your acceptance of a girl on the field told everyone that I was there to stay. I will forever be known as the girl who carried your headphone cord and kept you off the field during games, the girl who spotted balls for quarterbacks and wide receivers, and sometimes had to hold the kicking ball with a steady finger with my eyes closed so Jess and Danny could practice. I am honored to be all those things. A mere thank you is not enough, as persevering through the challenges that shaped who I am to become an adult, I have memories and relationships that will last a lifetime, and I'm forever grateful to you, Coach.
Well, we are grateful to you, Angie. And you don't know how close we all felt with you there. You did a wonderful job, but even beyond that, okay, you probably heard and saw things that you did not want to hear or see, okay? And yet you never confronted me with any type of request or something that was wrong. You never did. And, we followed suit with that pattern through the rest of my coaching. And, but you were the best. You were the best and you were the first. And congratulations on your positions at the University of Maryland. Having someone like yourself in that position tells me that things are going pretty well at the University of Maryland. God bless you and thank you for all you did, Angie.
Thank you, Coach.
And they are going well. Angela Perry, director of the M Club at the University of Maryland. Pete Koch was co-captain for the Maryland football team along with the late Dave Dadio for the 1983 ACC champion Maryland Terrapins. He played 5 years in the NFL, including with fellow Terrapin boomer Esiason with the Cincinnati Bengals. He's an actor, having appeared in nearly a dozen films, including Heartbreak Ridge with Clint Eastwood, as well as a number of television shows and commercials. And he joins us now from Santa Monica, California. Pete Koch. Pete, nice to see you again. How you doing, man?
Hey, Johnny, I loved your episode of I Love Lucy back in the day. Google it. But thank you all for inviting me and seeing these familiar faces from years past. It makes me feel awfully good. And Coach Ross, you and me haven't seen each other or looked at each other or said a word to each other in damn near 40 years. And but that doesn't matter so much to me. I'm honored to be part of this celebration of your 40-year career. You know, truth be told, when you joined the team, we only spent about 18 months together because that was in between. So you came and joined and took over the Maryland football team in the winter for historical reference, between my sophomore and junior year. And at that point in my career, if you could call it that, I was solidly positioned to ride the bench for 4 years at Maryland. I didn't know it then. I've never articulated it to you in the past 37 years, but you changed my life, sir, and I thank you. On 4 fingers, I can name the football mentors in my life that allowed me to enjoy the 20 years of contact football, 6, Johnny, years in the National Football League. Thank you very much. And you are one of those 4, sir. And I will briefly, I think it would be useful to give an overview of how you did it. So rather than just talk about how you helped me, I'd like to just make a comment about what you did. You changed, number one, when you stepped on the field. I remember the first meeting. I don't remember what I ate for breakfast, but I remember the first team meeting that you held. You got sir, I know that you worked at this. You knew all kinds of players by their first name and you had never met them. You must have memorized the program. You did. And it was impressive as hell to me, and don't think I'd missed it. So you came in, and that was the beginning. You gave us the confidence. You told us what your expectations were, realistic, but awfully high. And you began the process of changing the culture for the better at a monumental level. So how did you do that? You came in with a style contrary to the leadership we had previously, which was authoritarian. You were authoritative. Simply put, you came in and, you came in and you said that you believed in what we could do. Whoop, hold on.
You're still with us.
Okay. You told us, and the difference between those two types of leadership style, I can't see my screen right now, is one is the person in authority tells the other people what to do, and the other is the person in authority leads from the front and shows everybody what to do. That's what you did. I knew that fast that we were going to be excellent, that my game was going to improve dramatically, and that there were big things ahead of us. And as part of that team and as captain of the team, a couple of years later that won the ACC championship, I just couldn't be more thrilled about it. I got the ring over there to this day, and I thank you. And I thank you. And just because I haven't been around College Park, Maryland in the last 38 years, and I truly haven't, but don't think that you don't have a very, very special place in my heart. And I thank you. God bless.
Well, thank you, Pete, for your kind words. I think you give me far too much credit for what you and we accomplished as a team. But you were a leader in a very quiet way. You were a leader in the sense of what you did, not what you said. And you led by example. And to me, that's the best way to lead. But I've always felt that you've got to have strong leadership from within any kind of program. And it starts with the family. And you provided that internal leadership to us. It was good. But you were also a pretty darn good football player now. Don't forget that, okay? I can still remember the one game in which we switched you over. We were playing Pittsburgh, and we made you follow their offensive tackle. I forget what his name was right now, but he was a good one. And I also want to know just a real quick question. Could you have beaten Clint Eastwood?
You know what's so funny? As the years have gone past, I'm a couple years older, but I'm just about the age now that Clint Eastwood was when he played Gunny Highway. And so he was in pretty darn good shape. I think he was 56 years old at that time. I'm 60, but he was 6'4", 230 pounds. And when we weren't filming things, the first day that I was on the show, he said to me, hey, we're shooting at Camp Pendleton, the Marine Corps base. And he says, hey, Pete, they got this gym here. I'm going to go and work out at this gym. You want to work out with me? So I ended up being his training partner for the 5 weeks that I worked on Heartbreak Ridge. And that was just thrilling.
Well, you had a nice career, Pete, and you represent Maryland quite well.
And I hate to go over my 2 minutes. I just wanted to make one other comment. So as it were, and as you know, by my second year in the National Football League, I was with the Kansas City Chiefs. The first day that I got into that locker room, I had, and you know the guys, Boogie Bell, Art Still, Bill Moss, Gary Spaney, they all wanted to say, hey, what was it like playing for Coach Ross at Maryland? We loved him to pieces. He was crazy. He was funny. Almost to a man, every guy on that team had a Bobby Ross impersonation.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Nah, you were a legend in Kansas City. The guys really loved you. And I said, nah, man, he's got things going the right way at Maryland. And everybody was really happy for him.
Well, it was a great program for us at Maryland. And you were a major, major contributor. I still remember when we did the one-on-ones and you and Ronnie Soap got together. I mean, there must have been 50 scouts there to watch you, both of you. And you both competed hard and got up and patted each other on the back and went on. Special.
Steel really sharpens steel.
Good luck. God bless you.
Thank you, Pete. Great to see you.
Thanks, Johnny.
Okay, take care, buddy. Jess Atkinson kicked for the Terrapins 1981 to 1984 for Coach Ross. He finished his career with 308 points. That is second all-time in Maryland history. He spent 4 years in the National Football League. He scored 53 points in 85 with the Giants and the Cardinals. He also had a television career with Channel 9, WUSA Television. Then he founded Three Penny Films. It's a leader in telling collegiate sports stories and doing collegiate documentaries. His clients include Maryland and Notre Dame and Auburn and Miami and Under Armour. And one of the best kickers the Terps have ever had, and one of the best interviews during the times he played at the University of Maryland, is my buddy, Jess Atkinson. Hi, Jess.
Thanks, Johnny. Great to see you. Sorry, guys. I'm going to try to take care of this. I'm coming to you. Maybe it's an indication of how long it's been, but I became a grandfather for the first time on Saturday. So Mama, the daughter-in-law, goes home tonight, so that's my job is to get her back, and so we're with the baby right now. So I'll go out if he cries too much. Coach, so much has been said, Coach Ross, and one of the things I thought was maybe a fitting tribute to you and your character and just who you are was I've always marveled at how you chose and the people you chose to be captains. Just some of the best human beings I've ever had a pleasure to know. And as Dave said a little bit earlier, a couple of them aren't with us, Mike Corvino and Dave Daddio, but they were just great men through and through. Sorry, let me move out here for a second. And Dave and I were actually talking when you're talking about change and some of the change instituted there. One of the ones we were talking about was, I don't know whose idea it was, Coach, before you got there, to put all the football players in the same dorm. But then we were wondering who in the world would put all of us on the top 2 floors of a high rise when we were in Ellicott City. And my guess is you took about 15 minutes to see that situation and says, I want to split those guys up. So ever since then, all the football players have lived in different places. And then I wanted to echo something that Frank said, because I thought he hit it spot on. We watched and felt your love for your family, Mrs. Ross, and Kevin was around holding for me. And just how much you poured into them was, you poured so much into us too. That stuck with, I think, a lot of us all these years later. And so one other thing I just wanted to say is a thank you. I don't think I've ever got a chance to thank you for it. Was you introduced me to Mr. Johnson, Dick Johnson, who helped me. He helped Nick Lowry with the Chiefs, and he introduced me to him. And he changed the trajectory of my life, certainly. And it was kind of a rare thing that a head coach would trust somebody outside the program to have such a meaningful and important impact on a player. But that was some of the other guys spoke to your trust in people, and you trusted us. So we love you. We love you so much, Coach. I appreciate you. And I'll get back to the baby and do my job here of being the Uber driver for the drive home.
Hey, I've got 18 grandchildren, Jesse, so I know what you're dealing with. Okay. But God bless you, man. You were a leader on that football team, and you were tough. I still remember a couple of game-saving type tackles on kickoff coverage where you made the hit, and it wasn't one of those, get in their way type of thing. You hit them. You hit them. But beyond that, you provided such great leadership to our football team. And you had a wonderful career kicking professionally. And it was sad that you came up with the injury that you did. But you got through it, and you're doing well now, and you've had an outstanding career. And congratulations to you on that. And all of my family sends to you their very best.
Thank you, Coach. And thank you, Jess.
My best to them, Coach. Love you.
Love you, Jess.
J.D. Maarleveld survived cancer. He won the 1984 Brian Piccolo Award for overcoming adversity as the Atlantic Coast Conference most courageous football player. The next year, he was a consensus All-American. He played for the Tampa Bay Bucks in '86 and '87. He's run a restoration company up in New York City for the past 22 years, and he was recently inducted into the Maryland Athletics Hall of Fame. He lives in Rutherford, New York with his college sweetheart, Ivy, and they've got a couple of children. They have twin children, and he's with us today, J.D. Maarleveld. J.D. I think you got to mute yourself, J.D.
How you doing?
There you go.
Hi, Johnny. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Well, Coach, it's been a long time. I'm so proud to be a part of this tribute. I'm so proud to be a Terp that was coached by Bobby Ross, Ralph Friedgen. I have so many brothers now I have had. It was just an unbelievable experience I have to thank you for the second chance. A lot of people didn't want me around, and you took me in and rebuilt me. Thank you. You know me, Coach. I'm a little emotional. I always remember a story that my first year there, I really didn't feel like practicing a lot. I just got done with chemo and radiation, and I was faking injuries and saying I wasn't feeling good. And I was in a weight room, and you came and sat next to me, and you know, pretty much told me that you don't want to practice, it's okay, but you got to let me know early in the morning so that I can work my way around practice. And after that, I tried to make every practice I could because I didn't want to let you down. Thank you. Thank you for everything. I can't say enough of great things about you. If my son was a football player and he was being recruited, there'd be no place he would go except for where you were coaching. You did treat us like family, and I have nothing but respect and love for you. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you soon.
Well, JD, there was no one like you, no one, with what you were living with when you came to Maryland. And if my memory is correct, okay, throughout the whole time you were there, I don't know that you ever even missed a practice. And you were having some real difficult times. And I know I could tell too, because you used to go for treatment about the end of each month. And you get that forlorn look on you, but you never complained. There'd be so many people that could look at you and see and learn from the way you handled the experience that you had. And I'm glad to know now you are in good health and you look great.
Yes.
And
Thank you,
I don't
sir.
think you're weighing 300 though, are you?
250.
Okay, well that's good for you at that age. That's good. But God bless you, JD. You met
Coach.
so
God
much
bless
in
you.
this program. What you stood for, what you did on the field, and you never said anything. You just went out, and you had reason and cause to miss a practice or to feel hurt or whatever the case may have been. But you never did. You never did. And I talk about you frequently in that light. God bless.
Thank you, sir. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, JD. Thank you very, very much. Rick Badanjek is one of the greatest scorers in Maryland football history. His 44 rushing touchdowns, the most ever by a Terrapin, and his 46 total touchdowns, also a school record. He spent 3 seasons in the NFL with Atlanta and Washington, and for the past 25 years, he's been a residential counselor with Glen Mills Schools and the Devereaux Foundation. He's now semi-retired with 5 children, 7.5 grandchildren, one's on the way, and he lives in Pottstown, Pennsylvania. Rick Badanjek. Hey, Rick.
Hey, how are you, bud?
Good.
I tell you, I have to wipe the tears on my eyes because I'm so overwhelmed about JD that I just can't fathom what he went through. I have no idea that was happening. I have no idea. And I'm sorry, and I hope he overcomes this. But Coach Ross, thank you so much. You know how I feel about you. You know that. And Chuck Faucette said something about me being biracial. You know that. We spoke about that numerous times. And I've been through a lot as a human being. And I am so grateful that people don't know that, yeah, I'm a football player, I'm a human being, but you as a person, as my coach, as my friend, came to my father's funeral in a blizzard, in Ohio. Nobody does that. And you met all my family, everybody. And I don't know what to say, but to say thank you. You know that. I've told you this numerous times. I've talked to you numerous times. And I'm okay. I'm living good. I have a beautiful home. I'm doing everything I can do. And it's all because of you and my high school coach. And I appreciate everything you've done for me. And I'm so shook up about JD that I just can't see straight right now.
Well, congratulations on that Hall of Fame thing too.
Oh, I don't care about that.
I know you don't. I know you don't. But I think it's an honor and it's a respect for you. And I think people have to know that. You have been honored in that light. But I do want to tell one little joke on you, Rick.
Oh gosh, here we go again.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Johnny, we used to run a counter play, right? We introduced it, and when you ran the counter play, you had the fullback fill the hole where the lineman would pull and lead around the other side.
Right.
So we used to watch, and if that linebacker was running to chase the lineman, then we were going to just call sucker to the play. And we were going to give the ball to the fullback with no block. There's no block because the guys run away, okay? So we're into the game, and I say something to Ralph. Ralph, that linebacker's running. You got the sucker anytime you want. And so they called it, okay? He and Joe Krivak. And the linebacker didn't run. And he made one of those hard hits that, bring tears to the eyes. And Rick comes off the sideline and he's mad, okay? And he says, who in the blankety blank called that play? And I said, I did blankety blank.
Coach, I would never do that.
and he said, great call, Coach.
I would never do that.
I'll never forget that as long as I live.
Oh man.
Great player, great human being, raised 5 kids.
Well, I tell you what, the most important thing to me in my life is when you came to my ceremony to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. I know you had things going on in your life. You had a death in the family, and you said, Rick, I'm going to try my hardest to get there, but I'll see what I can do. And you showed up, and once again, you were there. And I am so appreciative because you changed my life. You and my high school coach changed my life.
Well, you have accomplished everything that you set out to do. And that's quite an
with your help. With your help.
Well, but you did it. I mean, I don't do it. You do it. And you had a nice pro career.
Well, let me tell you this. You didn't like my company, Jeff Palenka, and so many other people. You didn't like my company, but
well, God bless, Rick. And thanks for being on this thing. And know that you're loved by not only myself, but every other coach and every other player in that program.
Well, can you please tell Jim Kavanaugh, Coach Kavanaugh, that I love him and thank you because he was a big part of everything that I've done.
Certainly was.
And also, and I did get a chance to talk to I can't remember his name, but I can't remember right now. But he used to come out to Glen Mills all the time to see us. And
Hey, Rick, Greg Williams.
Greg Williams.
Greg Williams.
Yes.
This was Cav. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to.
Oh, that's you, Cav?
Yeah, I'm listening to you. I thought you were going to tell. I thought you were going to tell.
How's your wife?
She's fine. She's good.
Kids?
Yep, I got 5 grandkids. I don't have as many as Ross, hell, but I got 5. But I just wanted to interrupt and also to tell that you also told a story once, or I told the story when Coach Ross wanted to check on your arm, and he stuck his head in the our meeting room up there with, and we were all watching film, and you gave a rather interesting answer, and he just walked away and shook his head and laughed.
Coach Ross shook his head at me a lot of times. The only person I was afraid of was Coach Friedgen.
All right, well, hey.
When I seen him come on the film, I almost ran out the basement.
Well, I didn't want to. Hey, I'm going to get back off here, but hey, you look good. Congratulations on that stuff, on the Maryland stuff.
Coach Kavanaugh, thank you. I love you. I love you.
Hey, Rick,
I appreciate it.
What are you afraid of, Rick? I was going to give you the ball on that. We got close to that goal line. You were getting the ball, hon.
You scared the shit out of me. If I didn't get the ball in the end zone, I thought you were going to kick the shit out of me.
That's why you're the leading scorer.
Coach Friedgen, I gave you props. I tell you what, you're the best offensive line coach I've ever. Well, not that I've ever seen, but you put the best people in front of me that I could ever. What can I do? They were the best that I could ever imagine.
Well,
and I could get 3 yards on my knees.
Well, you can get it. You can get it in the end zone. I can tell you that, boy.
Be honest. They were the best ever.
And so were you.
Rick, you left us all with a lot of memories, believe me. And you're deserving of all the accolades that you received. And
I don't deserve none of that.
Ross was right. And, it's great to have you with us tonight.
No, Coach Ross deserves all the accolades. And I'm glad you didn't make me go to Michigan or Ohio State. That's
the great Rick Badanjek. Hey, thank you, Rick. Okay, buddy. Lee Becker was a student manager for the Maryland Terrapins back in the Bobby Ross days. He graduated from Maryland with a degree in marketing. He helped to create and launch the Boomer Esiason Foundation in 1993 and continues to grow it today by leaps and bounds. He also develops and directs marketing initiatives for Boomer. He created Ridge Youth Incorporated in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. That's one of the largest nonprofit youth sports groups in the country, in the state, with some 1,100 families they take care of. And Lee and his wife, Debbie, live in Basking Ridge. They have 2 adult children. He was a student manager for Bobby Ross back when Coach was in College Park. And here is Lee Becker. Lee?
Thank you, Johnny. I was a student trainer. I taped ankles, and very nice seeing a lot of the guys on tonight that I taped their ankles. And I got to know Coach Ross, not as a player, but as a trainer. And being a trainer meant that I was basically there from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 9 p.m. So we actually got to know the coaches probably in a little bit of a different atmosphere than the players. I think the first meeting was brought up a couple of times here by Frank and Pete and a couple others, Kevin Glover. That first meeting, J.J. Bush told us trainers that it was mandatory for us to be there. Under Coach Claiborne, we were never part of any meetings. We were never part of really anything outside of the training room. when I got there, I was so glad, and to this day, Coach Ross, because in that meeting alone, I learned some things that have guided me through life. First thing I remember you saying was, if we're going to be the best, we have to play the best. You also said what you see here, say here, and here stays there. And really built that family from day one, not only with the players, but the rest of us that were taping ankles or collecting footballs, whatever it was. It made our commitment so much easier and so much better, and made us we look forward to everything that we did and felt that everything we did was important. And that I could see how that's developed me in my life, and working so close with Boomer for the past 30 years, I see how much it's had an impact on him. And not only as a quarterback, Coach Ross, but a man that's literally saved the life of his son. And you've given him all the tools, and you gave him all the tools and developed him and myself as just being better human beings. What I learned from you has helped me grow into the I ams. I am a better son, a better father, a better husband, a better friend, and a better teammate than I ever would have been had I not spent those 2 years with you. And spending time with your son, Kevin, he would sometimes come in and help us in the training room. He was always out on the field, and just understanding and seeing, looking back now, how you raised your kids was amazing. And I still talk to Kevin, and I think you mentioned he's in Okinawa, and he has called me from wherever he is around the globe several times to talk about you and what, to keep the legacy going. And I can only think of where the program would be today if all that crap hadn't happened back when Lenny Bias died. I think a lot of us look forward to seeing you there for another 10 or 15 years. And the basketball program caught up, I think, back in 2001, 2002 with Gary. The football program hopefully is on the right path with Coach Loxley, and I think it is. But I believe that the program would have been far better served if you had been with us throughout. And I just want to say thank you. You're still a role model to me. And it's I look back from that first meeting you had with us, that gave me more confidence to do things better my entire life. And seeing all the guys on here tonight is just incredible. And seeing wherever you go, the teams from the early and mid 80s, I think are still the most prominent and most recognized guys that set foot on campus. So I thank you for being such a great mentor to all of us.
Thank you for your kind words, Lee. Thanks very, very much. And I know you do an awful lot for Boomer and behind the scene type things. And I know that Boomer appreciates that a great deal.
Well, once a trainer, always a trainer.
That's okay. It's not bad. It's good to have you.
Thank you.
God bless, and give our best to Boomer.
Very much. We've gone through 22 speakers tonight, our tribute to Coach Ross, and we're going to wrap it up with number 23 and basically number 7. Boy, did he put Maryland football on the map when he played for Coach Ross. Second team All-American, member of the Maryland Sports as well as the New York Broadcasters Association Halls of Fame. After graduating from Maryland, he had a 14-year career in the National Football League. He took the Bengals to the 1988 Super Bowl, earned the NFL's MVP for the regular season. In '83, he started the Boomer Esiason Foundation, whose mission is now and has been to defeat cystic fibrosis, which his son Gunnar was stricken with. And he's currently, every Sunday you see him on CBS, on the NFL Today on CBS. And may I introduce our friend? I haven't seen him in a long time, and man, you still look pretty good to me. Boomer Esiason. Boomer, great to have you with us.
Johnny, it's great to see you, and it's great to be with everybody tonight. And Coach Ross, man, it's just so awesome to see you tonight. And you're sitting there with your red jersey on. And I just want to say this, you see this Terps logo on my chest, and I have this helmet behind me on my radio show and TV show every morning in New York City. I want to thank you for having that logo and that helmet and that uniform set up, because that was the best uniform Maryland has ever had, and you were the reason for that, and I look good in it, so that's all that really matters. But at the end of the day, I listened to all the previous speakers, Coach. They love you as much as I do. I was your first quarterback. I didn't know whether or not I was going to be that quarterback, simply because you made a challenge to all of us. You made us dedicate to the program. You made us dedicate to the University of Maryland, to our coaching staff, and to our teammates. And you challenged me, Stan Gelbaugh, and Frank Reich to be your first quarterback. And I'll never forget those first winter workouts and how difficult they were. And you heard Pete and Eric and Lee and everybody else talk about your first meeting with us and what your vision was. And I'll never forget when Dick Dull first hired you back in January of 1982. You basically were so humble. You said, nobody knows who I am. I'm the coach no one knows. And all of us were looking around going, yeah, we have no idea who this guy is. What's he going to be bringing to the University of Maryland? Well, you inherited from Coach Claiborne, who I know you respect and love, and I know Coach Friedgen respects and love, one of the toughest football teams that America knew, but just needed refinement, needed direction, needed a vision, needed a new way of doing things. And as Lee pointed out, you had everybody in that first meeting, everybody that was attached to that football program. And that's really what set you apart from the previous regime. Not that the previous regime wasn't successful, because they were. They put Maryland football on the map when you really think about it in the 70s with Randy White. But you refined us. You took a bunch of maniacs and you made us into real football players with a purpose. And you hired a great staff. And it's unfortunate Joe Krivak couldn't be with us, because he was our quarterback coach and he was with us every single day. And I remember him rattling his keys in his pocket when he was trying to, impart some wisdom on us. And we used to make fun of him. And Coach Friedgen would come in, and Coach Friedgen would be the loud one. He would be the one that was screaming at everybody. But we love Fridge. We absolutely love Fridge. One of the funniest coaches I've ever been around. And when I listened to Rick Badanjek talking about his time at the University of Maryland and what you meant to him, I think he reflects the love that we have for you, and the way that you basically projected your leadership and your direction on all of us. And I want to thank you for introducing the speed screen to college football. Nobody knew really what that was, and I would just call speed screen right or speed screen left, and I would hit Rick Badanjek in stride, of course, or Dave Daddiel in stride, and they would take it right into the end zone and make me look good. So it was a great time. I don't know where the 40 years has gone. All I can tell you is that I think I speak for all of us when I say we are blessed to have played for you. We all wish you could have stayed at the University of Maryland for these 40 years, because I could just imagine how successful the school would have been had that been the case. And I think I echo what Lee just said, that we don't really know what happened. We'll never know what happened. But all we do know is that because of that fateful decision that Dick Dull and Jack Scarbath made to hire you back in 1982, you changed the lives of many of us, and me included. So with that, I want to say thank you to you, to your lovely wife, Alice, your 18 grandchildren. You are now a great granddad as well, if people don't know that. You started your coaching career in 1965 at BMI. And here's a little story that I often tell that you probably don't know. So you took over at West Point in 2004, and I was lucky enough to be on the broadcast for CBS of the Army-Navy game for about 7 years. And my first year was the first year that you took over at West Point. And I went in there and I said, Coach, how you doing? You were so happy. You were so stoked that you were coaching at Army. And I said, what's the biggest difference from this class, your first class at Army, from your first class at the University of Maryland back in 1982? And you just looked at me and he said, Boomer, I don't have to have spies at the VU or at Bentley's to see what you guys were doing. And I don't have to drag my starting quarterback out at 2 a.m. to get him out of trouble on ladies' night, Tuesday night. So, these kids are different than you guys. And all you ever wanted to talk about, and this is the amazing thing, I would ask you about 40 times, I would ask you about what they do well on the football field. And all you ever really wanted to talk about were the struggles that they faced to get to the United States Military Academy. And that has always stuck with me, and it stuck with me for the 3 years that we broadcast that game when you were the head coach, and how proud you were of those young men and what they were sacrificing to do what they were doing in order to play football at one of the toughest academic institutions in the world. And that says a lot about who you are, Bobby. And for that, I will always be thankful for that insight and that honesty that you brought us, because it certainly was a different group of men that you were dealing with in the early 2000s. So with that, I just want to say, on behalf of all of us, we love you very much. Your career is distinguished. You're a Hall of Famer in our eyes. You're a national championship college coach. You're a Super Bowl professional football coach. You've mentored so many. You've meant so much to all of us. I want to turn the floor over to you and let you say some final words before we show a video that shows the history of what you've done for us here at the University of Maryland. Thank you, Babu. We love you.
How about you didn't mention the VU, Boomer.
I did mention the VU. I said you had spies at the VU and Bentley's.
Okay. Well, where was it that I had to ride that false horse that bucked me off? Where it was down there on Highway 1. That was one of the first things I had to do, was get on that horse, and one of those things that buck you off. And I got bucked off in about 10 seconds, so I didn't stay long. But Boomer, you have made all people of Maryland very, very proud. You have, by the type of person you are, and that's probably the most important thing. And all of the other things that you've done with the football program, and to what you've done for Gunner, and doing what has been done in that particular field. I don't know the amount in the millions, and yet you still find time to participate in something of this nature. But God bless you, buddy, and I'll never forget your first throw. And I said, troubles are over with. We will be there. And you took that offense and you made it go. And it gets done.
Bobby, I will say this. The first time that I realized that I knew that we had something different than we had previously, you weren't asking me to pitch the ball and then lead the running back around the corner and block the likes of, the Perry brothers down at Clemson or Lawrence Taylor at North Carolina. You called 8:44. I think Ralph called it and Joe Krivak sent it in 8:44. And I hit Russell Davis on a crossing pattern at Beaver Stadium up at Penn State. Your first game as head coach, my first game as your quarterback. And Russell was so wide open. I'm like, oh my God, this is too easy. These guys really know what they were doing. And we lost that game. And then we lost the subsequent game to West Virginia because we couldn't convert a 2-point play. And that's why when Ralph brought up the Miami 2-point play a little bit later on that season, and you guys didn't know what you were doing, I just called the play myself. And I ended up hitting Mike Lewis for the 2-point conversion. I learned a lot from week 2 to like week 8 or 9 that year. But I will say this, one of the greatest memories that I have, and this is because of who you were as a coach, was my senior year when we were playing the University of Pittsburgh. I didn't start that game. I got hurt the week before. And my college roommate, who was one of my biggest supporters, but also one of my biggest, I guess, competitors, if you will, was Frank Reich. And Frank started that game. And we beat the University of Pittsburgh in Byrd Stadium. And I'll never forget the joy that I had watching Frank beat his hometown team, and how happy I was for our team and for our coaching staff that they could do that with him against that team. And it's still one of the greatest joys I have. And I didn't even play in the game. So that is the atmosphere that you created at the University of Maryland, that two guys who were competing for the same job could become roommates, become best men in each other's wedding, and support each other when they were on the field faithfully and I think really securely about who they were as people.
Yeah, that's why you are where you are now, Boomer, because of that type of attitude toward things. Special. And people miss that with you. I get you every morning 6 o'clock, okay? And I catch it. I get it every morning, and I'd like to hear a little bit more about the Yankees, though, than what y'all know. I know you're a Met fan. I did that to dig you a little bit.
Yeah,
Thanks for being on, Boomer, and God bless you.
my pleasure, Coach.
I'd like to, Johnny, am I supposed to do something here now? Because I wanted to mention a few people, if I could. Can I do that?
Here you can. Absolutely.
What I want us all to remember are the people who are no longer with us. And I'm gonna miss somebody, and if anybody knows anything about it, let me know. Joe Krivak, Jeff Mann, who just passed away a couple of weeks ago, from a heart attack. Joe Bailey, a defensive back, one of the toughest special team players we had. Mike Corvino, we all remember Mike and the leadership he provided. An undersized defensive lineman that played way, way above his skill level, really. Dave Daddio, we know what all about Dave. And Linda Cabania, secretary. Jim Weir, former trainer in our football program of Joe Bush. Dr. Levine. O'Brien Austin, a fine defensive end, or was going to be that. Neil Sampson, Pat Diatri. I don't know any others that we are missing, but if anybody does know of any, please let us know right now.
Scott Ty. Scott Ty passed.
Scott Ty, Coach.
Who was it, Johnny?
Scott Ty.
Okay, Scott Ty, okay, yeah.
Steve Kelly,
J-
Coach. JD Gross.
JD Gross.
Oh, that's, yeah, JD Gross. Okay. Any others?
Garnish Brown.
Oh, Garnish Brown.
Oh, yeah.
Steve Kelly.
Oh, my God.
Tyrone Furman.
Way too many.
Yeah.
Way too many.
Let's not forget them. They were special, every one of them. And they contributed as much as anyone. I know Gurnis lost a leg before he did pass away and had that problem.
Did we mention Tyrone Furman too, Coach? Tyrone Furman.
Yeah, all right, I got that one.
Okay.
The JD, Scott Ty, Pat Diatri, Neil Sampson.
Steve Kelly.
Steve Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, what a talent he was too.
He was.
He was. He came in with Rick and Kelly and Lincoln guard. They were all together, same team.
Tommy McKinnon.
Tommy McHale.
Hey, Coach Ross. This is
Yeah.
This is JB Brown. How you doing?
Doing good, JB.
There's a mistake with one guy. O'Brien Austin's still living. I just texted him. He said, "Please let him know I'm still living. I'm not gone yet." so he's here. Thank God. I just wanted to tell you that.
That's good news.
I was tripping on OB.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I had thought that, but thanks, JB.
You're welcome.
And Bruce Mesler sends his best regards. Wish he could have been with us tonight.
Oh yeah, had a nice career. Pro football with Buffalo, nose guard type.
Yep.
Good player.
Coach, it's Bruce. I came in with you and I went out with you. It was the 5 best years of my life.
They were pretty darn good for me too. Let me tell you, they were. And great times and just great people. I think the really big thing was just the time that we had within our team and together. We could laugh, we could joke, and then we could also play. And And they would, when they made that commitment.
Kids pitching the gym.
I mean, I still can think, I feel like that we had the best team in the country after that comeback win over Miami. And we played quite a few games on the road that year and had a great win over Clemson, I believe. I don't know what year that, I forgot that, but the game in Baltimore was a special one and a real offensive display, thanks to Ralph and Joe and the offensive side of the football.
Yeah, we beat the brakes off of them.
But I will always remember you guys. You're special to me. And I have film here at home, and I pull it out almost every day. And I look at it, and it's fun to look at. It brings me back to what you and people were when we were together. And it's just very, very special. I also want to thank Chip and John Dyer and Johnny. Thank you for what you've done for us today. And you're the only football announcer that I ever knew that could also do shows. And you did, and you were good, and I appreciated it. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, you were special. You had a special talent, not only within the football, but with everything else that you did. And still, my last sight of you and Jack Scarborough was right there in Lexington, Virginia, before Jack was.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But God bless to y'all, and Chip.
Hey, Coach Ross, it's
Yeah.
Daryl Wright. I wanted to say thank you for everything you did for us. And everybody you had on your show tonight was awesome. Johnny Holiday, superstar. Hey, everybody. Angie Perry needs to be in the Hall of Fame of the University of Maryland. But Bobby Ross, great show. All the guys you had on tonight. Should have had a punter on, I'm just saying, but
You are on, Daryl.
Coach, thank you for everything. You set me up to succeed in the NFL. I almost succeeded. I signed with the Jets twice, and everything you taught me was 100% spot on. Love you, buddy. Love everybody on the panel. Just wanted to say hi. Will, JD Maarleveld, Boomer, everybody. Great show.
Thank
That
you.
was awesome.
Thank you, Daryl.
Awesome.
And
Thanks, Daryl.
as we wrap it up tonight, I think we never touched on, we had all these wonderful speakers tonight talking about you, but I think back to the 5 years that I spent working with you, of the tremendous crowds we had at Bird Stadium for every one of your home games. It was routine to get 40,000 people, 45,000 people to come watch the Terrapins play back when you were coaching at Maryland. And Boomer Esiason talked about doing the Army game when you were coaching on CBS. And one of the most humbling experiences I had dealing with you, well, there were two of them. Number one, we would tape your TV show on a Sunday morning. And my mother was undergoing a cancer operation down in Florida on a Sunday. And I asked you if we could move the taping up a little earlier so I could catch a flight to fly down to be with my mother when she came out of surgery. And you said to me, let's do it at 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning. And we normally did it like 11 o'clock or noon. And you moved it up, and I walked in her hospital room that afternoon. It was a big floral wreath from you and your coaching staff to Johnny Holiday's mother, from Bobby Ross and the Maryland football family. Something I will never, ever forget. And you also, when you were coaching an Army, you had me narrate the Army highlight football video for you. You could have had anybody in the world do it for you, but you asked me to do it, and I graciously and humbly accepted, and that is something that I will never, ever forget. You left a lasting impression on the University of Maryland, so much that we saw a flash a few minutes ago from Coach Loxley, thanking all the former players for coming on tonight, and administrators and coaches. and for what they did for this university to get it where it is today. And there's Coach Loxley. If you want to jump in, Mike, hey, are you you want to jump in? We got you on Zoom here. Come on in. It's your time.
I don't. I really enjoyed sitting back and hearing these stories because I was so glad to have those 40,000 in Bird Stadium because as a 12-year-old, I made a lot of money scalping tickets off of all you guys. So I do appreciate it. But as I said before, I'm a fly here listening to all these great stories. I agree with each and every person on here, Coach Ross, that you set the standard for what Maryland football is all about. And off of your tree, Ralph Friedgen was born, and I'm so fortunate to have an opportunity to work under Ralph and see how you did it and see how he was able to put his personality on it. I agree with the Terp script. I'm a Terp script guy, and hopefully one day soon that thing will be back permanently. I would just stay tuned, and you never know. But we're excited. I can't thank you guys enough for the legacy and for the foundation that you guys have laid for Maryland football. And I promise you, we're trying everything we can to get this thing back to the point that you had it. And it's only done by alumni like you guys coming back and not giving money, but giving your time, lending these stories, because again, these legacies that you guys have left are the things that keep this program moving forward strong. And we've had a lot of coaches over the years. I heard it on here, you know, basketball has had about 3 coaches in 40 years. Football has had about 15 since Coach Ross left. And I'm hopefully here to stay for a long time and continue to try to build this thing to where we all can be really proud of it. So again, Coach Ross, thanks for your leadership. Ralph, appreciate you, love you, appreciate all you've done for me. Love your 2-page text messages after the game telling me how undisciplined we are and what we got to do. And I'm looking forward to the margin of error this week being under 12%. I promise.
My daughters used to go get the bad letters on my windshield after every game. Okay, so I never got to see them. But
Smart move. Smart move.
Good luck, buddy. Keep it up.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Coach. And Coach Loxley doing as we all know. He's taken it right back up to where Coach Ross had things in his 5 years at Maryland. So thanks to all the speakers. Thanks, Coach Ross, for being with us and letting us just say some words that are long overdue on your behalf for what you meant to everybody, the way you touched their lives on the football field and off the football field. And as we wrap it up tonight, we hope you'll sit back and enjoy our final tribute, a video tribute to one of the great coaches at Maryland, Bobby Ross.
Look at that sport coat, honey.
So that will wrap up our special tribute to Bobby Ross tonight. Coach, continued good health to you and your family down there, and we thank you for 2.5 hours of absolutely marvelous, marvelous memories.
Thank you, Johnny, and all you did for it, and also to Chip and to Tom as well. Very, very, very nice event. We really appreciate it.
You bet. And thanks to Chip, thanks to John, and thanks to Laura, and thanks to all of you for watching tonight. Our tribute to Bobby Ross, who came to Maryland 40 years ago and made a tremendous impact in 1982. Go Terps, don't forget, Saturday at the Shell. The Terrapins go for their 6th win of the year and become bowl eligible with a win on Saturday over Northwestern. We'll see you there. Thanks and good night.
Congratulations, Bobby.
Thanks, Coach. Discreet,
Congratulations, Coach.
Well done, Johnny. Coach, thank you. Thank you very much.
Great job. Bobby, thank you, buddy.
Happy anniversary, Coach.
Coach Ross, we love you. Johnny Halliday, we love you.
Johnny Holiday.
Hey, John, love you, babe.
Thank you, Coach.
He
Johnny,
will.
you're the man. What's up, Chuckster? What's up, my man?
My man.
Come on.
See you, Coach. See you guys.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Coach.
Ralph, good luck now. Great.
Hold
seeing
on.
you.
Can Ewell and Chuck Faucette hear me and Ziz?
I hear you, brother.
Oh, you guys are the best, man. Do we have the best times back in the day? Ewell,
We tried. That's for sure.
Hey, Coach,
Faucette is team captain.
Can we get
Ziz.
your address, Coach, so that we can write you a couple of notes here and there?
Look at this.
Yeah, I got it.
Coach, I would definitely not give your address away.
Not right now. Not right now.
Okay, wait.
Hey, Ziz. Hey, Ziz. Just
Yes, sir.
so we don't get a lot of people that we don't know get his address, reach out to me. I'll make sure you get it.
Gotcha. Coach, great seeing you. Congratulations. Hope to see you in the near future.
Okay, thanks very much, every one of you. It was an enjoyable
Thanks,
night.
Coach.
God bless you all.
Right.
Number 87. 87.
Oh, Slim's on there too? What's up, Slim?
Hey, what's up? What's up, Chuck Faucette?
My
That's
boy.
right. It's not Chuck
What's up,
Faucette.
Chuck?
Pretty close though.
Hey, Johnny,
We
I'll come
will.
visit you in the booth this weekend.
What's that?
I'll come visit you in the booth this weekend.
Sure. Why not?
You don't have
Alrighty, sounds like
classes
a plan.
I have.
Bring some beverages with you when you come up.
Hey, I'm a tea drinker. You know that.
I know.
Hey, Ziz, I still have Johnny Halliday's text from 12 years ago that says, if you can get past the Nazi, come on up. And how many times have we gone up to your booth, Johnny?
All right, everyone. Have a good one. Peace.
All right, we'll see you.
All right.
Hey, holler at me when you get a chance.
I will do that. ASAP,
All right, babe. Love you.
Okay, love you too.